Hello, this is Mr. Graham,
I'm Addison. Country boy Zachary.
and we're here to talk about some relations and functions today, guys. So let's talk about what a relation is. A relation is a rule that relates to quantities. So we're looking at, like, in this case, we're going to be looking at x and y values, and we're trying to talk about the relationship that exists between those two quantities. So let's look at functions. So a function is a special relation in which an x value, which is considered to be the input, has exactly one y value, which is considered to be the output. So I give you guys two examples of relations. So you guys have seen this so many times. I can't even count how many times you guys have seen this. But in this case, we are looking at x values and y values. And these lines describe that they have a relationship with each other. So x2 is going out with only y2. So each of these x values are going out with one person. So because that is right, that is considered to be a function. Now in this diagram, this x value is going out with one y value. They have a relationship. But this one has two people it's going out with. It's going out with y1 and y3. Now, is that right? No, it's probably only going out with one person. So because x1 has two relationships when it only should have one, it should not be a function. So we're going to look at multiple different types of verbal relations. We're going to look at verbal relations, we're going to look at algebraic relations, graphical relations, and numerical relations. So the first one I want to look at is a verbal relation. And a verbal relation is a sentence that describes how the inputs and outputs are related to each other. So here's a statement. It says that the input value x is a student's ID number, and the output value is that student's score on a physical exam. So if I'm looking at an ID number, okay, now each ID number is related to a specific person. Now, everybody in a school has a unique ID number, okay? So in this case, if a student takes, so let's just look at Mr. Graham. Oh, this is on a physics exam. Mr. Moyer would be upset at me. Sorry. So the output value y is that the student's score on a physics exam. So if I were to look at this, what would be my scores on this exam? I could probably get a 72, or I could get an 84. Now, these are all possible scores. Very rarely will Mr. Graham get the same score on that physics exam. So because of that, this is not a function. Okay? Because I will have at least two different scores when I take that exam. So I have an example I want you guys to try to do. So try that for tomorrow. Now let's look at another one. It's a numerical relation. It's a table of values or a set of ordered pairs. Each relates each input x value with an output y value. So let's look at some examples. And when I'm looking at this, I am asking myself, does each x value have a unique y value? Every time I'm looking at a table, I am asking myself this question. I don't want to be a two-timer. I want to have one relationship with one person. Okay? So when I look at this table of values, 1, well, 1 has a relationship with -1. And that's okay. But because 1 has a relationship with another number, 1, that means this is not a function. Okay? It only works if one x value has only one unique y value. Each input has to have a relationship with one output value. Anytime an x value has two outputs or has a relationship with two other things, it's two-timing, therefore it's not a function. So let's look here. Another way to look at it is a graphical relation. It's points on a graph in a coordinate plane that represents the ordered pairs. So one way for us to test whether a graphical relation is a function or not is to do something called a vertical line test. So a set of points in the coordinate plane is the graph of a function if each possible vertical line intersects the graph in at most one point. It cannot intersect more than one point. So when I look at this graph right here, I can draw lots of vertical lines that go up and down. These aren't really vertical, but if I look at this graph, does it intersect each point in this graph at most once? Yes. So this is a function. Now I look at this one. If I draw vertical lines that go up and down, does it pass the vertical line? Yes. So it's a function. Now if I look here, there's a vertical line right here. It intersects it 1, 2, 3 times. So because it intersects it more than once, this is not a function. So let's look at some other stuff here. Here's the last way that we want to look at it, and it's an algebraic relation. It's an equation that relates the x and y coordinates of each ordered pair. So, when I'm doing this, I always want to get y by itself. And I want to think about it. If I plug in an x value, do I get two y values out of it? So when I look here, y is already by itself. So if I plug in an x value, if I plug in 1 or 2, why don't we do 2? Because 1's kind of, All right, so y equals 4. Now, can I plug 2 into this and get a different y value? No. So this is a function. So here, I have 2x plus 3y equals 4. So if I get y by itself, I have 3y equals negative 2x plus 4. If I divide everything by 3, I get y equals negative 2x over 3 plus 4/3. So if I plug anything in here, will I get more than one y value? So if I plug in like 4, if I plug 4 in here, if I do negative, I'm just coming up with numbers in my head. There's nothing scientific about this. So if I do negative 2 times 4 over 3 plus 4/3, okay, that's negative 8/3 plus 4/3. Now if I look at this, I get negative 4/3. Can I plug in 4 and get a different y value? No. So this is a function. Let's look at another one. So is y by itself? No. So I'm going to get y by itself by square rooting both sides. And I get y equals the square root of x. Now, I'm taking the square root. Remember, if I take the square root of something, I will always get two solutions. So y equals plus or minus square root of x. So if I plug in 4 here, I will take the plus or minus square root of 4. Well, I get positive and negative 2. So this is not a function. So my two partners left already. They went to bed. But I will see you guys tomorrow, because hopefully you guys are going to bed after this.